Good morning, Husker fans. Welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel, and thank you for joining us as well on the Big Red Banter Facebook page, the Husker Big Red Facebook page. We're back here on Saturday morning for Coffee with Husker Big Red, and today we're going to look ahead to the Illinois game. We're going to also talk about the defensive depth chart, and we'll go wherever the conversation leads us. So, you guys want to talk about other things? We'll go with that direction as well. We got a couple people in the chat here early. Good morning, James. Go Big Red.
Oftentimes the conversation is better than what we have to say, so please chime in the chat if you want to.
Yeah, we have our conversation starters, but we love to just see where things take us. And good morning, Stephen from Kearney, Nebraska. Although I do have to say, as a former Hastings, Nebraska, I lived in Hastings, Nebraska. I guess Kearney used to be our rival back in the day. So just wanted to throw that out there. But anyway,
Harburg, right? If I'm not mistaken, Kearney.
Yeah, Kearney. Yep. He is from Kearney. So
Nice.
I remember way back, this was probably 93 or 94. My dad and I went to Kearney, Nebraska for a state semifinal football game, and Hastings ended up winning, beat Lincoln Southeast for the state championship. So that was like 1993, 94. But yeah, anyway.
I was not even a thought. So
yeah. So yeah, looking into this weekend, I mean, a lot of things kind of coming down the pipe for the Huskers. I mean, you got another big matchup against Illinois on Sunday, another top 10 game where the winner is going to be in first place. Michigan beat Michigan State last night, so they're kind of waiting, whoever wins out of the Illinois and Nebraska on Sunday. So James used to live in Gibbon, Nebraska. Not too familiar with Gibbon, but, there's lots of great communities in Nebraska. So, of course, the best place in Nebraska is Lincoln Memorial Stadium on game days. At least it used to be. Hopefully we can get it back to being that again. But the Vault's been pretty fun place to play this year. I would say, for Nebraska, and Illinois is going to be coming on Sunday. Robin Wash out of Husker Online reporting that Braden Frager and Rink Master both going to be game time decisions on Sunday. So, hopefully just keep your fingers crossed that they can both find a way to play. I feel like Frager's going to play, and hopefully, Rink can get over whatever illness he's been dealing with and find a way to get out there, because it's going to be a tough matchup for Nebraska if they don't have those two guys.
It is, and thank goodness it won't be a tough matchup on my ears, as I won't have to listen to Nick Stauskas call the game, but it should be a good one on Sunday. Illinois took us to the wire back in December, and we won on a great shot from DeMarcus Lawrence. Always a competitive game with Illinois. There's going to be some basketball and football recruits in the house. I think Trey Taylor is going to be there, and I'm not sure if Ahmad Hudson's going to be there, or there's a bunch of visitors coming. So, and the game also coincides with Nebraska's Junior Day, so I bet you there'll maybe be some football players there as well. And so it's going to be a fun day. I think it's going to be a great atmosphere, and it's nice to get the Vault rocking for a talented and winning team. It's always rocking, even when they haven't been so good, but now the program undoubtedly has some momentum.
Yeah, they do, and they need to. They've. I think a lot of people came away impressed with how Nebraska played against Michigan, who is first place in the Big Ten now, back to number one in the Ken Palm, without two of their. I mean, I would say two of their 3 or 4 best players, obviously.
I would agree.
So yeah, we'll see what happens on Sunday, but a big opportunity for Nebraska to, keep pushing, I would say, for that number 1 seed. I'm not sure if the Big Ten's going to get 2 number 1 seeds or not, but right now they're seeded like 5th or 6th, and so I think that's a great place to be. Try to get as close to home as possible for those first round games, and yeah, I mean, they're still right in the thick of the Big Ten championship race, and they've got to take care of these next 3 games. Nebraska obviously has got Illinois Sunday, then Rutgers, and then Purdue at home. A road game against Rutgers, which isn't going to be easy. They just took Michigan State to the wire recently, but if they can win against Illinois, that would give them a sweep over Illinois and give them 2 losses. So then Nebraska would be a game up on Michigan State and Illinois, plus they'd have the tiebreaker. And then the schedule, like we talked about, gets a little bit easier, after these next 2 games. There's Iowa a couple times, which isn't going to be easy, by any means, but it does lighten up considerably, whereas Michigan still has to play, 3 games. They still have to play Illinois, Purdue, and Michigan State. So I think the schedule advantage might work out for Nebraska down the stretch there in terms of this Big Ten title race.
Absolutely, and there's going to be a lot of good recruits on Sunday. I believe Dawson Batee, nephew of NBA player and former Boston Celtic Tony Batee, and then there's going to be an international prospect from Brazil, whose name I can't remember off the top of my head at the moment. Maybe you do, but he's talented. I know he played on the international circuit last year and the year before. So there's going to be a lot of interesting visitors this coming Sunday. And
Yeah, Matthias Alessandro, I think
there
is
we
how
go.
you say his name. So he's from Brazil, 6'8" forward. He's playing with the overtime elite. Averaging 8.6 points, 5.5 or 5.3 rebounds, 3.3 assists. Yeah, Dawson Batin in London, Dotto, the 6'7", the top ranked player in the state of Nebraska for the 2027 class. He's also
Yeah.
going to be visiting. So, yeah, a really kind of star-studded weekend for Nebraska on the recruiting trail. The guy from Brazil, excuse me, is a 2026 recruit, so he could still be, added onto this roster for next season. He visited Texas and Michigan over the summer, so those are some of the other teams that have shown some interest there. And so, yeah, it's good to see Fred Hoiberg, taking advantage of this kind of run and trying to get some more of these talented players in there. And I think that's probably something that we'll keep seeing, and hopefully Nebraska becomes more of a destination place for basketball players.
And I feel like Fred does better like getting one high school recruit and developing the kid versus getting like a bigger high school class and trying to bank on that. Like for example, Braden Frager's development has been positive. Even not high school, but when Casey Tominaga came in and they really kind of focused on developing him, he turned into a great player for Nebraska. And so, I think although the high school classes aren't big, he's done better lately with what he's been able to do in terms of high school talent. I mean, we talked about Jacob Lanier on the last show too. So it's not a big class by any means. And I get basketball classes aren't like football classes where you have like 25 kids, but it's a talented class. And Nebraska has also done well on the international circuit. I mean, when you look at some of the international players, Berkey, Rink, even Casey. I mean, Fred has found a knack for fitting those guys in his system. And I think the international style of play kind of fits really well with his system overall. So he's been able to find some real gems on the international circuit and in terms of international players. So, I mean, these two things this weekend fit right in his wheelhouse, in my opinion.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they can, capitalize on that momentum, and it's going to be a great atmosphere on Sunday. So it's going to be 2 Central Time against Illinois. I did want to touch, since we're talking about recruiting, I wanted to touch on some of the other recruiting things that are going on football-wise, because like you mentioned, it's Junior Day, so there's going to be 12 guys on campus this weekend from the 2027 class. Ahmad Hudson's not going to be there. He was expected to visit. But I think he has some other kind of conflict. So he said that in a post that he would make it up and then he would come back on another trip. So more of like a reschedule. Yeah. It seems like, so there's still some big time players, on campus. A lot of them are commitments. They've got, Torrey Pittman's going to be there. Like you mentioned, Trey Taylor's going to be there. Amir Brown, Matt Erickson. So like some of the top commitments, but, some big offensive linemen. 4-star Kyler Kuhn, interior offensive lineman, is going to be visiting. 4-star offensive tackle Timmy Alu. Those are 2 4-star guys that are going to be coming in with Jeep Wade. So, I like where they're heading in the 2026 class or 2027 class. I think they've done a lot of, the coaches were out on the road this week. And speaking of that, they were out on the road. One place they stopped, Dylan Berriman. That's been an interesting recruitment lately. Rule. And the new D-line coach, Corey Brown, visited him last week. And then Steve Wiltfong and some other Nebraska people, some other reporters too, have started projecting him to Nebraska. Then he was going to take a visit to Florida, which he then canceled. So he's gone on record saying that he's made a decision. I feel like the decision was Nebraska and that he was maybe second guessing it with the Florida thing. But I feel like next Wednesday, Nebraska will get his commitment. So 6'2", 330 pounds out of Louisiana, top uncommitted prospect, right now. So you can see why some other teams are trying to push for him. But I do think he's a guy that could help this team out, right away if they're able to get Dylan Berriman in 2026.
Yeah, he would be a big get. And I was a little bit worried when it was initially reported that he was going to visit Florida, but it seems like maybe Nebraska closed the deal. And then one other guy that has been getting a lot of steam, and actually got some expert projections yesterday, was 2027 four-star corner Bryce Williams, former Florida State commitment, decommitted. Addison Williams, the secondary coach, took an in-house visit with Bryce. There's just so many Williamses. I have to use first names. Bryce, last week, and that kind of moved the momentum there. So I think he would be a really nice pickup again. And one thing I know some fans have been kind of iffy about Addison's coaching, but he has done a nice job on the recruiting trail, and I think getting Bryce would be another nice get here.
Yeah, so that would add, another blue chip player to 2027 if those, predictions come true. So they've got, Mir Brown, obviously Trey Taylor, Torrey Pittman.
It's okay,
so
good morning.
So yeah, the 2027 class coming together, really well for Nebraska. Good, Co. Got to get our coffee. Still getting my coffee here. Waking up here, man. Holy cow!
And I'm late to half the shows anyway, so you're good. You're good.
Yeah, half the time we don't get up here by 6 o'clock. So sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting. And I have to say, if they can get Berriman, I do think this D line will look a lot better going into next season. At least I'll feel a lot better about the ceiling, because they needed a 330-pound guy, and then you have Simpson and Tyson Terry. Then you got some nice young guys there. You got Jashir Whittington, who's got multiple years left to play. I know they got the guy from BC who's probably going to play a lot this year, Riley Van Poppel. Yeah. So yeah, Owen Stodmeyer. Yeah, it's interesting that I noticed on the depth or on the roster they've got David Hofkin listed as an edge, which I thought was kind of interesting. He's kind of gone back and forth between those two positions. So yeah, they've kind of got it separated between like D tackles and basically edge players, which makes sense because whereas last year, it was like they played this odd front, so you had kind of multiple positions, where D line meant, you could be like a nose or a 3 technique or a 5 technique or a D end, and now it's just, you got pass rushers, basically your ed players and your defensive tackles. So I think that suits this group a lot better.
Yeah, and I mean, you just kind of laid it out right there. Just tons of confusion on the defensive side of the ball in terms of positions. So I think, yeah, you had Berryman in there, and I think it's a good sign that he canceled his Florida visit. You had him, and I mean, I think they've done a really good job on the defensive line, and I know some fans are a little bit wary, but I do like the additions because I do think it brings I do think they bring veteran experience. Even Stoudemire dealt with some injuries last year, but I think he could be a really good player. I don't know if you feel this way, Chris, but I'm very intrigued about Jashir Whittington. He's still got a lot of eligibility left. Showed flashes with Pittsburgh, and I think he can be the type of guy that maybe not start day one, but start sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I really like Whittington too. I think he's got a lot of upside. I mean, he's only, a redshirt freshman, I think is what, so, and he had a lot of production. He's not the biggest guy in the world, or I guess, yeah, because he played 3 games as a freshman in 2024. This year he played in 11 games, 3.5 tackles, 1 sack, 11 tackles combined, 7 solo tackles. So like a lot of growing to do, but I think he's a guy who's going to be, in the mix in the starting defensive line. And I guess that'll be a good kind of segue because we're going to do the depth chart projection, the other day. We talked about the schedule and the Michigan game. So yeah, if anybody doesn't have any other comments, we can kind of go through this really quickly, starting on the D line. And I guess let's start at defensive tackle. I personally think that the starters are going to be Riley Van Poppel and Owen and Stoudemire. I think Whittington's going to play quite a bit. I think Malcolm Simpson's going to play quite a bit. And I think that maybe, Tyson Terry might see some time this year. Him, and if they can get Berriman, those would probably be like, the third string guys. But, my hope is that they could get some snaps, get some rotation. And then, you could be looking in a year or so where you got, Ben Poppel, Whittington, Simpson, Terry, and Berriman all having, snaps and experience going into 2027.
I think if he wasn't coming off an injury, Tyson Terry would be a day one starter. I think you're probably going to see him quite a bit next season, but I agree with your starting front. It's going to put a lot of pressure, I believe, on Van Poppel, but based off of how he played against Utah, and I referenced the Utah game because he really popped out to me there specifically.
Mhm.
I think he's ready for the challenge, and I think you talked about where Rob Arch's system fits guys better. I think his system fits Van Poppel very well.
Yeah, and sometimes, I mean, it can just be, like I don't know exactly the Nebraska's system, but like sometimes it can just be a little simpler. Like, hey, you got this gap right here, and for a defensive lineman, sometimes that does make life easier. In terms of Berriman, he does still have his crystal balls pointing toward Nebraska at this point, so it looks like that's how it's going to play out. They do have a lot more bodies in that room. You're right. He would be good year 2, 3. I hope they don't promise him playing time in year 1. Tough for the youngins, and I do agree with that. I mean, you don't want him to be playing a ton. I think, yeah, year 2, if he could be on the 2 deep, that's where I think this year would be great if him and Terry were kind of like the third string guys, and they could get some experience. Get some, especially you get up in some games or you get down. Have some just kind of get used to the college game, because it is tough to transition from a defensive lineman, and a lot of times you don't, it's their second year, their third year where they do start playing really well, and that's where you want to be, outside of those guys that are truly special, that come in and need to play right away. And who knows, maybe Berriman could be that, but I do think he's going to have a tough time getting over like Malcolm Simpson, and I think Terry, yeah, depending how healthy he is, it's kind of a wild card. But it was interesting last year, that he was always on the injury report, but they never listed him as out for the season. So I do think he was, kind of trending in the right direction towards the end of last year. So maybe he'll be more like, maybe he probably will be 100% this year.
And speaking about his injury, made me think of Marquise Watson Trent. I mean, did you see that report the other day where he played with a what was it, a torn pectoral and also like an oblique injury?
Oh, I didn't see that. No.
Oh,
That's crazy.
I'll go look up. Well, I'll go look up that now just to confirm information. But some of these guys can play through these injuries. But yeah, it was interesting that Terry wasn't fully listed as out on the injury report.
And then don't forget about Gabe Moore either. I know he doesn't get mentioned a lot, but he, like 2 years ago, he was going to be on Mississippi State's 2 deep as a defensive tackle, and then he got injured. Ended up transferring here, and I think of all the guys, he's like one that really I think fits this scheme better. He was kind of because it was like he's not really an end, he's not really like a nose, but I think in this defense he can be like a 3 technique, and so I don't know. He's another guy that because he's kind of grown a lot too. He's up to like 290 pounds, and Hoffman's a guy I'm watching too. I mean, I said when they recruited Hoffman, like, this guy's an edge. He should be an edge, not a lot. He just doesn't have the frame, I didn't think, to be an offensive tackle. So I'm interested to see what like Roy Manning and what Corey Brown can do with some of these guys. I just wanted to pull up the defensive tackle. Yeah, Gabe Moore is listed as a defensive tackle. They got him at 6'5", 290. So I still think he can make a difference. And then Dylan Pero came back. He's there at 6'5", 320.
I don't know where he fits. I'm not saying that he's a bad player. I just don't know where he fits with the bodies in this room.
Yeah, because there's some other ones. Sua Latofu, I kind of forgot about him.
I forgot about him. Yeah.
Mason Goldman. So there's some other guys. Ashton Murphy.
Forgot about him too.
Yeah, so there's some other guys there, and then you look at talking about edge, some interesting position moves, like Dylan Rogers has moved to edge. I don't know if any people really knew that. So my edge starters.
I liked him when he came in as a member of the 2023 recruiting class. And honestly, just looking at this list, I didn't realize how many guys have stuck around.
The edge class. So like Willis McGahee is an edge. Mac Markway is now playing edge, which I didn't realize he was even going to play anymore. So good for him. Jordan Ochoa. So
right about him.
Yeah. So my projection, I guess, for edge starters, I'm going to say Williams Noweri and Cameron Leonard. I just think that, they're going to have those positions down. But then I think, Cade Podrzak's going to play a lot. And looking at who else here, it's that fourth spot's going to be tough. I'm going to say Willis McGahee. I think that he's going to, emerge. He stayed. And I think sometimes, the guys that stay, that make those decisions to stay, a lot of times those decisions end up working out. So I think he's going to, not be like a superstar this year, but you talk about another guy who's going to get pass rush reps. I think it's going to be Willis McGahee, the fourth. So those would be my 4 edge guys to know for Nebraska this year.
And I agree with you there. And the edge kind of offers a lot of uncertainty because I want to see more from Cameron Leonard. He's a great player. I just, aside from 2023, I haven't really seen a consistent time where he's exploded and been an impactful player. And then Wells McGahee, I just don't think he's been able to, I don't think these systems have fit him well. I think this one will fit him a lot better. And he's one of the guys that I could see Roy Manning really coming in here and making, an impact on and, developing into a better player.
Yeah, so Leonard, just to go back to his season, so he had 13 games, 7 starts last year, 23 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. So I mean, okay production, but
Yeah,
definitely, hoping
not
to get
terrible.
more production out of him this year. And that's the same for Noweri too. He started off really well, and then kind of once Big Ten play kind of dropped off a little bit. So a lot of talent in that edge room. Just need to get a little bit more production. Cade Patrizak's one
Mm-hmm.
I'm really watching this year. Played in all 13 games as a freshman, 17 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks. So, I mean, he basically outproduced Cameron Leonard last season, even though he didn't play as much.
Yeah.
So, like, if you look at, he's probably, if there was a breakout candidate on defense, for me, it probably would be Cade Patrizak. So, let's see, linebacker. So now
For
it's,
me, sorry. Go ahead. I was just going to say for me, it's McGahee because, in my opinion, Patrizak's already broken out. Like, he made an impact as soon as he stepped on the field.
yeah, for sure. I just mean like a guy that if there's somebody on this defense who could jump like to all Big Ten range, like who we could be sitting here next year, like all this
Yeah.
guy's like second team all Big Ten. I think it could be Cade Patrizak. I know that'd be
Okay.
a big jump, but he's got like of all the D linemen we've got in our room, like he might be the one I'm most excited about.
It's going to be a jump, but I don't know if it's going to be big because I agree with you, Chris. I'm very excited and very talented. For me, I think McGahee is going to make that jump, but we'll see. If any of these guys make that jump, I'll be happy, to be honest with you.
So the linebacker room is going to be pretty interesting. I think they've got 2 spots to play, right? You basically Mike and Will, kind of essentially how that works. So you look at the linebacker room right now. Vincent Shavers came back, and he had a good season. I think his season was like a little bit underrated, but he played in
He
all
was injured
13
from day one,
games.
too, I feel like.
He started 12 games, 61 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of crazy that Cade Patrizak was 3rd on the team in tackles for loss. Shavers was 2nd. So, I mean, you got to feel good about having those guys.
Yeah.
So I feel like Shavers is going to start. And I also feel like this system will be better for him,
Yeah.
That 3-3-5, because that puts a lot more, when you're a 3-3-5, like that puts a lot of strain on your linebackers to,
Yes, it does.
have certain gaps and have certain responsibilities. And so I feel like this will maybe let them take on fewer blockers. And then obviously I think it's going to be Owen Chambliss. So that's who I expect. Shavers, Owen Chambliss. They're not the only guys that are going to play though. I think Dawson Merritt's going to play. I think Christian Jones will find his way onto the field.
I was going to ask about him now. Do you think Christian Jones will have an impact this year?
I do. I mean, I think it'll be more as like backup special teams type, but I think he will play. I think Dexter Foster's going to play. I think Dexter Foster might be like the 3rd linebacker. And so,
People have been sleeping, not you, but people have been sleeping on Dexter Foster, and I think he's a very solid addition.
Yeah, and I mean, who knows? There might be times where Nebraska's like, "Hey, we're going to play 4-3." Like just because they say the scheme is 4-2-5 doesn't mean you're never going to see 3 linebackers on the field. Like sometimes you will. I mean, that's what like I feel like good defenses don't pigeonhole themselves into one scheme or another. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And they've got talent. And the thing about Chambliss too is he can rush the passer. And what can Shavers do? He can rush the passer. What can Merritt do? They can rush the passer. So I feel like there's going to be chances for Rob Orch to get really, if he wants to blitz his linebackers, I feel like Nebraska is going to be in a pretty good spot to do that. So,
yeah,
will Merritt stay healthy? I mean, that's going to be an important thing. Hopefully he can. I mean, it does seem like Nebraska has a lot of injuries. I don't know if I know that Corey Campbell got extended, and so I'm not sure exactly. It's hard to figure out why guys get hurt.
It's like they've always had a lot of injuries though, pre-Campbell.
Yeah, and I mean,
I
don't know. I can't speak intelligently to like compare their injuries to somebody else's. Like the only other program that I really pay attention to that closely is Michigan, and it doesn't seem like that. It seems like Michigan has a lot of injuries too. So I don't know. I don't know if there's anything there, but yeah, hopefully he will stay
I
healthy.
think the
I
Big
think.
Ten just takes a toll on guys. You
Well,
know.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's why you need to have like. I mean, if there's a position where you don't have like two quality guys who can start, I mean, that's you kind of feel worried about. That's why when you look at this Nebraska D line and their linebackers, it's like, I feel pretty good if any of those four guys started for the most part, like at edge and D tackle. And then I feel pretty good about those five linebackers we mentioned, and then you still got guys like Pierce Mooberry and, some other interesting guys there too. So, yeah, I feel like linebacker pretty good.
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty good too. And go Big Red. And
Thanks for joining us, Delaney.
Yeah, I think a lot of young talent here, but I feel like they can make an impact, and there's not going to be a lot of growing pains. I feel like this defense will allow them to just fly to the football, and because Rob Orridge said in one of his early interviews back in December that he wants to attack and affect the quarterback. And sometimes, like you said earlier, the simplicity of a defense, hey, don't go through gaps A, B, C, blah, blah, blah. Go and attack the quarterback. That could be beneficial for them too. I mean, just the messaging sometimes could mean a complete change for the better.
Yeah, I just think, and we've said this before, I'm blanking on the defensive coordinator's name right now for whatever reason, the old one. God, why am I anyway?
Oh, John Butler.
Yeah, John Butler. Had total.
We forgot about him so much that we totally moved on past the John Butler era or ever.
But, I think that was, I mean, sometimes like I do like getting NFL guys, but it has to be the right NFL guy. And I just don't think I think he wanted to run a bunch of NFL stuff, and he just, it's hard to do with college players. And so, he's like, why can't this guy do what Von Miller can do? Well, I mean,
yeah.
So, but some guy like Wink Martindale really had a problem with that too. And so, I think Rob Orch will be a better fit. Looking at cornerback, I feel really good about this room.
Yeah.
Obviously, Andrew Marshall, I think, was one of the best cornerbacks in the Big Ten last year. Donovan Jones has played really well. And then Bryson, I really like Bryson Weber. I think he's a guy, not probably needs to be talked about more. I know a lot of people are talking about Danny Odom coming in here and playing right away, which I do think he can. But I think Bryson Weber was really talented last year too. And then you got Amari Sanders, Larry Tarver, Bly Hill still in the room. Yeah, me too. So, I mean, again, a lot of depth there, a lot of guys who, you got some experience. You got two guys who are really experienced, who can start games that you don't have to worry about. And then you got some really high-end guys. And then, guys like Sanders and Tarver who've kind of been here. So I like that mix because it's like, now you've got Odom and Weber kind of competing against Tarver and Sanders. And so I feel like that competition is going to breed some quality play. And yeah, I feel like, Nebraska 5-6 deep at cornerback, to be honest. So I feel pretty good about where they stand there too.
Yeah, and I know some fans, and I hate to call you out, but even I think was a little bit worried about Addison Williams' coaching. But I will say that it's hard to get good cornerback play if you don't even have a semi-competent defensive line. And we did not have a even semi-competent defensive line last year. So I think them playing better will also help the cornerback unit. And like you said, Chris, so deep at the position, so much talent. So I'm excited to see what they can do as this defense gets a revamp. And I also think it speaks to the fact that, Matt Rule said, hey, no matter what you do, Addison Williams stays. So, and I agree with that. And I know that's not, that's not necessarily a normal thing to do, or that's not always the best thing when a new guy's bringing in their stuff. But I am glad he put his foot down on Addison Williams because I do think he's a good coach and recruiter.
Yeah, and looking back, Andrew Marshall, who I think will be quarterback 1 this year, 6 foot, 190, was honorable mention last year, all Big Ten. Started all 13 games, 45 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 1 pick, 4 pass breakups. Of course, had that big pick against USC and, weren't able to turn it into anything else. But yeah, so I really like what Andrew Marshall can do. And then Donovan Jones, another guy who started a lot of games, 11 starts last year. He had tied for the team lead in pass breakups with 5. So, yeah, I mean, you got 2 really experienced players there. And then
so who's your CB1 and CB2? Like if starting lineup?
I would say Andrew Marshall's cornerback 1, and then Donovan Jones is too, and I think the third one. I mean, not that you always are going to have a bigger guy be your slot corner, but I think it's going to be Bryson Weber, and
I
so
actually like him
maybe
in the slot.
yeah, so maybe I don't know, maybe he'd be in the slot, or maybe you'd
He's
move
fast.
Marshall to the
He's very
slot.
fast. So
Like on maybe if you go three corners, you move Marshall, and I will see it. What I do like about Marshall too is that he knows Rob Orris. They work together at
yep.
Idaho, so yeah, I
He's
feel
also a
like
very
that's
good
gonna.
tackler. Not that you want him to tackle every single play, but I was very impressed with his tackling.
Yeah, no, I do like defensive backs who can tackle because I mean, not that I have no idea. I haven't studied Rob Orish's coverages per se, but I like to play a lot of like when I play college football, NCAA, I play a ton of quarters, and I make my defensive backs tackle a crap ton. So
I need help on defense in NCAA, so this is good. This is good information.
go
Maybe we'll
go
meet after
quarters,
the
man.
show.
Go court. What I do, like almost every play, I play the ultimate bend, but don't. So I play quarters, and then I'll do like you always have to have your guys. Do you just your defensive backs to play
Yep.
like? So I always I have them defend like the deep until like they get down like inside the 40 or 30. I
Okay.
just protect, and then I basically just depend on my defensive line to get pressure. And so if I
I
don't
do a
get
lot
pressure,
of
I'm screwed.
yeah, I do a lot of 3-3-5 stack, which is good if you can get pressure. If you can't, it's a long afternoon.
I never blitz my defensive backs. That's like a recipe for disaster, but
I don't either.
I will blitz my linebackers quite a bit.
How
So
many snaps did Weber take last year? Let me look that up for you, Co. And the thing is, like with some of these players, like they may not have taken snaps last year, but they should be ready to contribute this year.
Weber, as I'm already on the roster,
Okay.
Weber played in 2 games, so he's a redshirt freshman, which I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm watching him watching him in the spring. I thought, in fall camp, I thought he was one of our better guys. So, I mean, yeah, if Addison Williams is as good of a coach as we think he is, Bryson Weber will be contributing this season. But I certainly I wouldn't take Danny Odom like out of
No.
the mix because he's really good man cut like that. That's the things you don't necessarily have to, just go let him man up somebody. Like you want to play like cover too high, but like, there you go, Danny, go lock him down. Cause that's what I feel like he can do. And he's 6'2". I love long corners like that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and get some pass rush. So I don't know. I really feel like as we're going through this depth chart, I'm feeling better and better about this defense. And I know that one of the stats that we found, last week is Nebraska is one of the leaders in terms of returning snaps, not other production, but returning snaps. Nebraska's so they're going to be one of the most experienced teams in college football. And we saw with Indiana what being a really experienced team can do. So, I mean, I don't know if that's going to equate for Nebraska, but it can't hurt.
Yeah, I just you know how I feel about the Indiana comparisons, but I do get what you're saying here. I do get what you're saying here, and I do think high school recruiting is important and developing them is important, but I also think the portal is becoming importanter, I guess, as the college football landscape continues to be absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, they do need to make some changes. I mean,
Yeah.
if we didn't have this whole system, honestly, would probably be fine if they didn't have the penalty-free transfer, which I totally understand. I'm not saying that they should take that away, but that combined with NIL just made things too crazy.
Yeah.
Because it would be like literally in the NFL, if everybody was on a 1-year deal. Like, what if Patrick Mahomes was on a 1-year deal every
Yeah.
year? I mean, that would be
Ugh.
insane. And then,
Yeah.
I mean, like that's what college football is right now. You have to sit there. Our off season for college football is sitting there watching your team announce that yes, the best players are going to stay. Like you have to. Like I don't know how many guys have gone through and been like, I'm staying, I'm doing. This person's re-signed. Like if it was an NFL team, you'd be like, oh my god, I hope Jordan Love's coming back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's where we are. And the teams, like in the NFL, you have protect. Like right, you could franchise tag people if you want to. Like there's some team protection. College football, you have none.
Well,
Like,
I think there's going to need to be. I think you're going to start seeing contracts, and I think there's going to need to be. And as much as I hate that part of it, there's got to be some regulation here.
Yeah, there's got to be some. I mean, it's just because I don't know. I'm not saying that they have to like think about the fans, but I mean, the fans are the reason why this sport exists at some on a major level. So it's like it does kind of suck as a fan to not, like there's no roster continuity, and I don't know. I just feel like It does need to calm down, but I don't that we've been saying it needs to change, and who knows if it ever will. So,
Well,
anyways,
especially now what you're seeing with Millard South, then that enters a whole other. I love
yeah.
the fact that they're all going to Millard. Like, don't get me wrong, but I definitely understand why other Nebraska fans and people in the state are not happy with it.
Yeah, because I mean, it's just interesting, and I get the idea of like because a lot of programs that do this national recruiting. I'm not saying that Miller South's done it like they. And I don't even know how much they're really doing it. I think it's just Trey Taylor really wanted to come here, so it's like, I mean, no other school would have said no to Trey Taylor. Okay, and his dad said that they tried to get other schools, that they tried to go in the Lincoln area. So I don't know. I mean, maybe some other schools need to look at themselves and see what they could
Well,
have
I think
done
Millard needs
differently.
to move to a national schedule first of all, because
Oh,
they
did they? Okay.
because don't
Well,
forget.
that's fair.
No. I'm just saying. I think they're going to need to. They haven't yet or
Oh,
anything.
okay.
Because don't forget they had Jet last year, and
Mm-hmm.
they played really well, and people were complaining about the same thing. And interesting that Jet commits to Alabama, and suddenly he shoots up as a 5-star. Now people
Yeah.
are complaining about that Jet's a 5-star. Don't give me that bullshit. He's a 5-star because he's in an SEC program at Alabama. If he was at Nebraska, he would be a 3-star, and you and I all know it, and everybody knows it. But people are like, "Oh, Matt Rule missed out on a 5-star." No, he missed out on inflated rankings. That's what he missed out on.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, and
I don't know.
we'll see if he goes in the portal at some point. If he does, then maybe if things don't work out for Nebraska, maybe it'll work out in a different way. You never like that's the thing with like high school quarterback recruiting is I'm just kind of like I'm excited about Trey Taylor. Don't get me wrong, but it's kind of like I'll believe it when I see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I just don't like at that one position. That might be the one position where it's better to go portal shopping because like guys just don't get time to develop. We'll see though. We'll see. I mean, every program does it differently, and but yeah, who knows? Maybe in like 2029 we'll have Jet Tamalia and Trey Taylor be starting somewhere else. I mean, like the chances of that happening are probably as good as Trey Taylor staying in Nebraska for his entire career. Like that's just it's kind of a crapshoot. But yeah, let's get back to safety because I was going to bring this up now. Who eats up Singleton's production for last year? McDougal or whatever his name was from San Diego State. So here's yeah, I definitely think McDougal's going to be one of the starters.
I'm excited about him.
He had 4 interceptions last year. He was one of the best run defending safeties as well. PFF had him at a really good. Not that I don't take everything that PFF says with as gospel, but he was really good against the run. 4 interceptions, so I think he's going to start. And then I think it's kind of interesting. You got Caleb Benning, who I've always really liked. Rex Guthrie, Braylon Prudy came back after he entered the portal. Tanner Turch, Justin Rhett. What was that?
Is he a safety, Prudy? I thought he was more like a linebacker type.
They got him listed at safety on the roster right now.
Okay.
So it sounds like that's where they're going to play him. The way I see this playing out, I think it's going to be McDougal. I think Caleb Benning's going to win this job. I think he's going to win the starting safety job. And then I think Justin Rhett and Rex Guthrie will also be kind of in the mix. But that I don't know if that's a bold prediction, but watching him play down the stretch and I think in the bowl game, I just feel like he's a really good player. And I don't know. His dad was a great running back. I just feel like he's got really good instincts, and I think he kind of maybe had some injuries, or I can't quite remember, but it seemed like his high school recruitment he dipped down in the rankings a little bit. Because he was getting interest from like Notre Dame and some big time programs as well. So I feel like Caleb Benning's a name to watch, and I do think McDougal's going to take over the production there for Deshaun Singleton.
What do you think about Rex Guthrie? Because there were times last year when he looked completely awesome. He looked like the best safety on the field, one of the best safeties in the Big Ten. But there were other times last year, especially in coverage, when he kind of looked a little lost. I mean, especially like you mentioned with Noweri when they had to go up against Big Ten competition. So where do you read Rex Guthrie heading into next year?
Yeah, I mean, he did start 8 games last year, so I mean, I guess he probably would be the presumptive starter over Caleb Benning. 63 tackles, 1 pass breakup, but yeah, he did seem to kind of struggle in coverage, and it felt like at times he was confused, didn't quite know where he was. And so I think he's a good box player, but I agree with this statement. I don't know that I just don't know that he's good enough in coverage. So I feel like
he fits better as a rotational piece, and not like in a bad way, but just like you said, need a box safety, stop the run. I feel like he excels there.
Yeah, certain downs, and maybe even a guy that could be kind of like a nickel linebacker at some point. But he is a good hitter. I do like some of the things that he brings, but I just feel like unless he really improves, he just was really leaky on the back end.
I agree.
And Benning played in 11 games last year, so not like a ton, but he did play, quite a bit. Obviously, in the bowl game, he had 13 tackles against Utah. So, I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing more of him. I feel like I just feel like Caleb Benning's a guy that just, one of those guys that has a nose for the ball. And I don't know how to describe it other than that. But some people on defense, they can just find the ball. And I remember, I always make my Packers references, but like Clay Matthews, like he just, whatever position you put him at, inside linebacker, edge, like whatever, he just found the ball. If the ball got out, like somehow he was around it. You know what I mean? And some guys just have a knack for that. And I feel like, even though we haven't seen him a lot, I feel like Caleb Benning might be one of those guys.
Luke Kuechly for me is that guy. I remember watching him; he was all over the place, and he was pretty damn good linebacker. So yeah, Luke was all over the place. I remember watching him; seemed like he was, he had like 13 tackles a game. Obviously, awesome college career, awesome NFL career. But yeah, no, I definitely know what you're talking about when those guys seem almost magnetic to the football.
You know who that's maybe the best example of this, of guys that I've seen, who's not like the best player, like not the most athletic player, Teddy Bruschi. There's been very rarely guys who have had a nose for the football like Teddy Bruschi. I remember the 2004 divisional game when he took the ball away, just took it away from the Colts guy. Like that's just the kind of, like that wasn't like a super athletic play. It just, the ball was there, he took it. And that's like, some guys just have a knack for making those kinds of plays.
Ty Law, not a linebacker, but he
Ty
always
Law
seemed to have great instincts in coverage, and he just had a nose for when to make a play on the ball.
Yeah, so lots of Patriots references there, but that's, I mean, they were great for a reason. They had a lot. They found those guys, and so
I don't know. I feel like again next Sunday. So
yeah, yeah, hopefully. That'll be a fun Super Bowl. That's gonna be a fun. Thank God the Broncos aren't in there, and no Bears. That was, that would have been a national emergency if the Bears and the Broncos were playing each other.
I'm excited to see the Christian Gonzalez, Jackson Smith-Njigba matchup next Sunday.
That's holy cow, Jackson Smith-Njigba. That Seattle team from. I mean, they got that 22. I can't remember his name right now, but he's like that little slot. No, he's that little slot receiver dude.
Let me look that up.
He's fun to watch. And then Walker, he's crazy.
We know Kenneth Walker. We stopped him in 2021 only to lose on a misdirected punt. I'll never get over that game. I know I've made a reference to that so many times. I will never get over that game.
Easiest punt return of Jaden Reed's Green Bay Packers star Jaden Reed, not star.
That's who it was.
And they just punted to the wrong side of the field. Basically, like walked into the end zone.
Oh, Rashid Shaheed, is that the slot receiver for Seattle? You're talking about?
Yeah.
He's fast as hell.
Ty Law was a stud.
Ty Law was a stud.
But yeah, Kenneth Walker I'm pretty sure got like 20 carries for 50 yards. Like we got nothing. But we couldn't move the damn ball. And then
let me look up there.
That was the most frustrating game.
Yep.
Like that game, the Michigan game that year was fun that they lost, and that was frustrating too. But the Michigan State one was because they had that thing in the bag and they just could not move.
They did because the Michigan State's quarterback was terrible.
Yeah, Peyton Thorne.
Oh wow, what a name! There you go. That's what it was. All right, so we had. I'm sorry for looking this up, everybody, but no, I'm just looking.
We're down a rabbit hole now, so
we are down a rabbit hole. I'm looking at the ESPN box score. Just remembering some of the names. He had 19 carries. Kenneth Walker did for 61 yards. Like we couldn't have defended him better.
And I think he had like broke off a run in like overtime or something. Yeah. Like at some point he was doing like way worse than that. So
yeah. And Nebraska was ranked. No wonder we lost in heartbreaking Michigan State was ranked. No wonder we lost in heartbreaking fashion.
Yeah, that game that year and the Michigan game that year, that was brutal. Of course, Iowa too. I think even we didn't have age.
We were up by
like 10 points. Yeah. And then like the second the fourth quarter started, it just went straight downhill. So yeah, hopefully
that was the year I debated whether covering Nebraska was a good idea. And while I still debate it to this day, that year kind of made me wonder.
Yeah, that year was tough. And then so poor old Scott Frost. Oh well, moving on.
Well, he got his money, so I don't really feel too bad for him.
As far as our defensive depth chart, that's kind of where we wrapped up there. Caleb Benning, Justin Rhett, I think will be in the mix, but
he impressed me last year.
McDougal's the guy, the one transfer that I definitely think you should know. I don't know. Maybe we could talk about more about Illinois or anything else that you guys want to chat with. We've got about 10 minutes or so left here. But yeah, I mean, just in general, looking at this defense, I do think the defense is going to be much better this year. Now, I don't know what that's going to mean because the freaking schedule is so hard, but.
Well, it's like you said, we may not see improvement in the record this year, and we may have to look on the field and actually really look at the games to see improvement. And I know for about 85% of Nebraska fans, that's a very hard thing to do. So that combination should be interesting. But
yeah, I'm not gonna. It's gonna be a tough. It's gonna be, Matt Rule's just got to get his head down and grind. He's got to not pay attention to the headlines and just because there's going to be some tough ones, but we'll see. I mean, I don't know.
I'm really banking on 2027, and I know I shouldn't be banking on a freshman class, but I think that's the group that it can help continue to turn things around. That's why I don't think Matt Rule's going anywhere. If Matt Rule is going somewhere, I don't think these kids would be moving to Nebraska to play football together.
Yeah, no, he's not going anywhere for a long time anyway. And yeah, I wish that, when I look at Calandria, I wish that he had 2 years to play. Like, that would be so perfect. But, it is what it is. I think he's gonna be a really good play. I think we're gonna be like, man, this guy's really good, and we're 7-5 because our schedule's freaking impossible. You know what I mean? Like, if we had this year's schedule, if we had the 2025 schedule with a 2026 team, but
or even the 2024 schedule. Well, I mean, it wasn't too. I mean, we had Illinois, but should have won that damn game too.
Yeah, should have won. Yeah. That's one, with like when Isaiah Nair dropped that touchdown that they overturned for like a pick. I mean, that was it was like, God dang it. And then we missed the field goal. I remember lining up because I was covering a high school football game and I was watching it. It was like, here we go, 38. It was like 40-yard field goal. Like, they're not going to do this again. And wide, and it was like, just knew they were going to lose then.
And the whiskey came out quickly after from my fridge. I'm glad you were covering a football game. You didn't have to do that.
Yeah, I was lucky that I was on grass because I threw my phone pretty hard when that happened. So anyway, so yeah, James, between Washington, Oregon, Maryland, and Indiana, they will be tested with quick QBs. They will.
Didn't we say there was a stretch the other day where we have to face Malik Washington, Damon Williams, and like Dante Moore back to back to back?
Yeah, it's Malik Washington, Dante Moore, Ty Hoover, then, and
I forgot about Ty Hoover,
because it goes Maryland, Indiana, Oregon, and Washington. So yeah, basically 3 weeks in a row, Nebraska's going to be playing like a first-round quarterback almost. Because I don't know how
the defending national champions, not that like
just
add that in there, like. Ugh.
I mean, I don't know how good Josh Hoover is NFL wise, but he's got a pretty good, career production wise so far. And so yeah, that's not going to be that month is going to be very interesting. But if they could beat Maryland and beat Washington, they could go 2-2 in that stretch. The Washington game is the one I've got circled because if they could win that one, then maybe they could get to 7 wins.
And I feel like Maryland doesn't have a ton of playmakers besides Malik Washington, but Malik Washington is damn good. I'm not taking anything away from Malik Washington. I loved him when he played against us. Like, I loved watching him play, and I was like, damn, this kid's a freshman, and he was bouncing all over the field, making big runs, throwing on the run passes. I'm like, wow, this kid's pretty good.
So let's see, Michigan State QB. I don't even know who Michigan State's quarterback is, to be honest with you. They must have got someone.
Saying doesn't really have escapability. I don't know. I mean, Michigan.
Yeah, who they getting them? Because I know that Childs or whatever his name was went to, and then I'm thinking about Rutgers. I'm like, does that Calic Manis guy still have? Like, they'll just trot him out again? I don't know. Probably no. He looks like he finally graduated out. So Rutgers will need a new quarterback.
Aliso Milovic.
Oh, that's who they're going with. Okay, they're gonna. Yeah. He wasn't bad. I mean, he took over at the end of last year. Like, he's okay, but.
Who does? I'm looking up Rutgers starting quarterback because if I have to see Calic McManus again,
Illinois got the kid from East Carolina, the Caton Hauser.
Yeah, which is a good fit for them.
Yeah, that's a good. I mean, Bielema, he's a smart guy. Like, he knows what he's doing.
If I have to see Calic McManus again, I'll be pissed because Calic McManus has always given us hell.
I think he's finally graduated.
Oh. Dylan Lonergan came over from BC.
Oh, that's right.
From Alabama. Right. Okay, I feel a little better because I know we were looking at Dylan too a little bit.
Okay.
He doesn't. Lonergan doesn't really move.
Finally, the guy seemed like he played college football forever. I was like studying. I'm like, how is Calic Man is still starting?
Yeah, I was like, and he always get like I said, he always gave us hell every single year. Whether he was a Gopher, whether he was a Scarlet Knight, so glad I got to see him.
Yeah, he did play decent. God, why do so many teams have to like recruit guys with just the weirdest names? You know, Milisovich or whatever his name is from Michigan State. It's just like why?
Yeah. You need a pronunciation guide, especially for basketball.
Yeah, good thing. So last year he completed 64% of his passes, 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So I guess he played pretty well. Looking at his rushing numbers, so 31 attempts for minus 59 yards is what they got him at. So I don't know if he is, I mean, that obviously a lot of that's probably sacks. So he probably is a little bit mobile.
But
Damon Williams. Damon Williams is the guy that I worry about. Yeah.
Michigan State is going to be Pat Fitzgerald led, and Pat Fitzgerald has always had our number.
Yeah, they're not going to be. I mean, that was a tough job because Michigan State, they just didn't really invest that much in football. Like you talk about programs which they're really weird anyways. I mean, they do invest in basketball, but Tom Izzo like hates the portal, like, nothing. So they're kind of the weird. Of course, now they've got a bunch of money. I guess that I'm not sure how much that's equated to this transfer portal class, but we'll see.
Didn't they get a massive gift once
they did. I don't like I said, I don't know if that's like if they use that for if it was available for them to use in this transfer portal window, but they're going to have money going forward. So I mean, I just think we need to expect every team in the Big Ten to have money. That's just
including us. Which I mean, I think we did flex our monetary muscle a little bit this transfer portal, but
yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I do get where some people said like there's like a list of top 100 transfers. I think Nebraska's got like one on there maybe. I mean, so I don't know, like, but rankings aren't everything. But I mean, we'll just have to see how it plays out.
Well, I feel like we had so many needs that we couldn't necessarily devote a ton of money to one or two players, and I think they were looking because things go quick, and I think they were looking more at the bigger picture than just like one or two like top 100 transfers. I don't know, but we did have a lot to fill, and I think we filled them pretty well.
Yeah, so Costa, did they flex though? They didn't get it. That was kind of what I was mentioning, a player in the top 100. I don't know though. I mean, because we've got, like the transfer, I feel like the transfer portal rankings can be really, hit or miss. So I mean, like some of those guys who were ranked
Foster, almost said Dexter Fowler, was not a top 100 player, and he had like what 96 tackles last year.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly, but he was a productive player. Yeah, it's there was somebody like a Michigan account that put together a list of like composite rankings for transfers, and I thought that was kind of interesting. I think Nebraska did have one in the top like 100, or maybe it was like I think this might have just been Big Ten rankings, so they maybe had like one in the top 30. So I mean, yeah, there is a case to say they didn't add a ton of like high end players, but Indiana, not a lot of the guys that Indiana signed were highly ranked players either. So like that's kind of what I'm saying with the portals. Sometimes some of the guys that are ranked in the portal, like Kenny Minchie, is a top 50 player in the portal. What has he done? Nothing. So it's based on potential. There's another guy who in the portal that Michigan got who was part of the 2026 class, and he signed and then didn't sign, went into the portal. He's rated as a 5-star in the portal, which I mean he's a top 100 recruit, but he hasn't played a snap in college football. So there's kind of that difference in like, are you going to value production? Or are you going to, I think the Calandria Kenny Minchie is a great debate on that. I mean, Calandria was the Mountain West Player of the Year, and he's what 240 or something.
Who were the two?
Yeah, who did they lose? I'm just blanking right now.
Co will tell us. It was funny because my Miami show was asking me, what can we expect from Keona Davis? I said, kind of took a step back last year, more of a project player, which Miami can afford to do, but he was really good in 2024. So, kind of a guy that can just sit back and
oh yeah, Raiola.
Produce. Duh. Oh, right. Raiola and
Keona Davis. So like, okay, Keona Davis. I mean, but yeah, okay, Keona Davis is top 100. Like, I get why, because I think he has got a lot of potential, but he hasn't produced very much.
No.
You know what I mean? So like, I mean, same with Raiola. I mean, what I mean, Raiola, yeah, he's played okay, but you know, like if you look at his Big Ten numbers, his Big Ten only stats, he did not improve much from 2024 to 2025. So I
And
mean,
this is something that we've been saying since last year, not just because he transferred out of here. Let's just make that clear.
but so I mean, like I get what you're saying, Co. Like you know, with the rankings part of it, but like you know, let's look at Keanu Davis. Let's pull up his stats here.
He did not. I thought he
So
regressed last year
I
for
mean,
me.
but this probably is that's probably the one guy that they lost that I wish they could have kept. So I mean, but yeah, 13 games, 12 starts, 32 tackles, 3.5 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks. So I mean, you know, he's a pretty productive player. You know, like definitely not bad at all. 265. They've got him at 255 on here. He's probably bigger than that. So yeah, I mean, if there was one guy like that I could get back, it definitely would be Keanu Davis. I think I posted that when he left on my Facebook page. Like, this is the one guy that gives me some heartburn. But you know, do I look at him and like, is that a guaranteed top 100 player to me? I don't know. I think he's got a lot of potential. I think that Miami could be getting a guy that could be a second or third round pick if he reaches his true potential. But I think they could also be getting a guy that's just a guy. We don't, you know, in Nebraska, he's kind of just been a guy. So I don't know. Like it's I think with the portal, you have to be careful when you look at some of those rankings because they don't, you know, it doesn't always pan out that way. But sometimes it does too. So I don't know. Like I feel like they did get a good class, and I know that a lot of the guys weren't ranked super high, but I feel like they, you know, at certain positions, like they got one of the better offensive tackles in, you know, Babalade, and they got they got the number 3, you know, interior offensive lineman in Brendan Black, who I think was their lone 4-star. They got the Mountain West Offensive Player of the Year in Anthony Calandria. They got a guy in Quasi Gilmer who's had a reception in 23 consecutive games who plays in the Big Ten. I mean, he had over 550 receiving yards last year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like,
On
yeah,
a bad
he's not
UCLA offense.
like, yeah, he's not rated as high as like, you know, the guy who transferred to Michigan from Utah or like some of these Ohio State receivers, but that doesn't mean he can't play. You know, so like, yeah, I totally get what you're saying. And, you know, I would like to see him, you know, try to get more of these big impact players, but you know, like they have to fill out their roster too. So I don't. It's just it's kind of. I feel like the portal is really a lot like NFL free agency, and so sometimes you can go spend. Like sometimes the strategy is to go spend big, and sometimes that works, but sometimes it doesn't too. I mean, you know, we've seen teams try to go spend big, and it doesn't necessarily work out for them either. So I don't know.
And you don't necessarily want guys that are talented players. You want guys that fit what you're trying to do. Like you can just go grab some talented players, but if they don't fit, if the round pegs don't fit in the square hole, then that does nobody any good. And I think this group in particular fits, especially when you look at, you know, the defense and the linebackers like Foster and Chambliss, and I think Calandria as a mobile quarterback fits better in Dana Holgerson's offensive system, and so I think these pieces fit better for what Nebraska wants to do.
But I mean, like, yeah, I can agree with the sense that like, did they add like some all Big Ten players? Probably not. You know, maybe maybe on the offensive line, like maybe Brandon Black could be that.
Chambliss,
You know,
I'm thinking too.
Yeah, Chambliss I think could have a chance. You know, maybe Calandria if he has a really good season. I mean, it's not.
McDougal.
Yeah, McDougal. Like, there's definitely some guys in there. And I mean, you look at like what Signetti was able to do is he identifies like guys that fit, right? He's really good at saying, okay, this is what this guy's going to do. He can fit here, and we're going to find him, and he's going to, you know, like he's found guys that, you know, produce. And like, I mean, yeah, look at the team talent rankings going into 2026. Like we were 8th. Indiana had the lowest ranking of any team in the Big Ten in terms of just, you know, your high school recruiting rankings, your transfer portal rankings, you know, where the rankings put you. Indiana was 18th in the Big Ten. They had the worst talent according to the rankings of any team, and they just won the national championship. So I think that we need to be open to the idea that, you know, these rankings aren't the end all be all.
They all spend top money. They all have top money.
I mean, you're not right. I mean, you're not wrong. No, and
we don't have
like,
Miami money. We don't even have Indiana money anymore, especially with Mark Cuban donating, whatever. We don't have Ohio State money. We don't have money like some of these other programs do. And I know we say we have money, but we really, when you look at these other playoff programs, we don't have the money that they have.
Yeah, I mean they do need to get more.
That's a big problem. No matter who the coach is, no matter what talent they bring in, we do not have top money.
And that's why Matt Rule said it. I mean, and maybe Trev Albert said it before he left, but I do think that it was smart and true that Nebraska has to be one of the premier development programs in the country. And it has not been that under Matt Rule yet. And that's what he needs to fix. And hopefully getting some of these other coaches. But like Nebraska, he says they do. I mean, I don't know. I all we can go by is, and they also had to spend money probably to keep some of their own guys too, but
like Ja'Cory Barney.
Ja'Cory Barney. Yeah,
I think he wanted out of here, and then now he's back on the roster.
So I mean, yeah, it's tough, but I think it's like Nebraska has to be able to do more with less because they're never gonna like the fact of the matter is even a program like I know Michigan has a lot more money, but they're never gonna have as much as Ohio State. Like they're just not.
How big is the money disparity between Michigan and Ohio State?
I don't really even know per se, but like Ohio State has always spent like an SEC school. Jim Tressel and those dudes they were paying players under the table for years. That's why they were good. Like come on, we're not dumb.
Yeah.
And so like I don't think I think Ohio State will always have more money. Ohio State and Oregon, because Phil Knight, is going to spend he's going to spend as much money as he can to try to win a national championship before he dies. Like that's what he's trying to do. That's what he's trying to do.
If I was an Oregon fan, that would drive me nuts. They spend money every single year. They can't even get to the national championship. Like that would.
Has anybody spent more money to get less than Phil Knight in college athletics? That's maybe the only guy who's in the same conversation with him is T. Boone Pickens at Oklahoma State, because Oregon has not won shit in anything. Yeah. They made the college football semifinals. But it's like, cool, they won a Big Ten championship. Yay, good for you. Their basketball team they've never made I don't think they made the Final Four. Like they've had some good teams under Altman, but like now that they moved to the Big Ten, they suck. Like they're garbage in basketball now. And so it's like it's like Phil. I personally, there's no team outside of Ohio State that I love to see lose more than the Oregon Ducks, solely because of Phil Knight. I would love to see him try to spend every single dollar that he has and go to his grave without seeing the Ducks win a national championship, to be honest with you.
Well, I'm sure then his sons will take over the company and they'll continue funneling in money.
They probably will, but it'll still be hilarious. I hope that Phil Knight never gets his national title.
Being an Oregon fan would frustrate me so much. Ugh.
I don't know. At least they get I don't know. They got Raiola as their backup quarterback now. Whatever.
We'll see how long that lasts until they realize that Dylan's not going to get playing time and they start demanding money and Dayton wants a 5-figure deal and then that all blows up in their face again.
But yeah, I don't know what to make about like the whole Rule part of it. Like, I think I think the thing is like Nebraska gets money and then other people just get more money. Like, for instance, Michigan reported like this year they thought that their roster was going to cost them like $30 million. They ended up spending $40 million on it. So like, they just whipped out an extra $13 million from who knows where. So it could have been a situation where they went into it being like, yeah, we got a lot of money. We got a pretty good amount of money. And then all of a sudden everybody else has even more money. So it's just, I don't know. I wish that college football would go to a cap, but this has been, like everyone wants to complain about the system. It's been this way since the beginning of time. Players just couldn't transfer, but the teams that had the most money have always had the most talent. So it's really nothing new, except, now teams like Indiana kind of have money and like Ole Miss has a little bit of money. And so they're kind of getting players. And so I think there is more parity, but like Indiana, Ole Miss getting to the Final Four. I thought that was, because Ole Miss doesn't have a ton of them. I would say that in terms of SEC level, like Nebraska, Ole Miss probably ranks among the SEC where Nebraska ranks in the Big Ten.
I'm gonna look that up again, but
Ole Miss, like I don't know, like yeah, it's interesting because like I don't know that Nebraska doesn't have any money. I don't know. Like they got Trey Taylor and he's got to be costing.
Oh yeah,
it has to end sooner or later. Rich people can't just have that much FU money to keep throwing away every year, right? I don't know, man. I'm really not sure. Maybe I'd like the thing I'm not sure is if it's tax exempt. I think some of these donations are like tax, you tax write off. So, if I was a super rich person and I had to choose between giving my favorite team $10 million and giving the federal government $10 million, I mean,
I'd give
what
my
would you
favorite
do?
team.
I mean, that's kind
Ole
of,
Miss
I
$10
don't know.
million
That's
in 2024. That's
okay.
the number I found. So that's pretty much like Nebraska level, right? Or even less than that.
I honestly almost probably more. I think Big Ten teams tend to have. I don't know. It seems like they have more NIL. I don't know though, but I do feel like I think that we just need to get and we need to win more, and we've got to be the best. We've got to be the best at developing players. We've got to be able to take a 3-star and turn them into a 4-star. We've got to be able to take a 4-star and turn them into a 5-star caliber player. And unfortunately, our 4-stars aren't even playing like 4-stars. So that's, I think, the biggest, when I look at this program, like Grant Bricks, Preston Tamua, Carter Nelson, Dylan Raiola, all these guys who were supposed to be part of the foundation, and not a single one of them has contributed. I mean, Raiola did, but the other ones haven't contributed in a meaningful way at all. And so, the injuries and things like that, not every player not developing right is an issue on the program, right? Like it's up to the players too. But I think there's a lot of, there's too many instances of that happening. So they've got to get better in that way. And hopefully some of these changes to the coaching staff will help them get there.
And people, it was funny that you brought that up because people, like I was doing kind of a reflection in a group chat I'm in, and people were talking about the 2020 class and how many Florida kids committed and never even stepped foot on campus. Mm-hmm. And one of the only guys, was Turner Corcoran, and was Teddy also in that class, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, those were like the only 2 guys that panned out.
Yeah, it's kind of it's crazy how that works out. But
yeah, no, it's kind of like you can get all these 4-star guys, but if you can't develop them, or if they don't even make it to campus, then it's not ideal.
Yeah. So, all right, you guys. Well, we'll about wrap it up here, unless there's any other questions in the chat. Let's get back really quick. I want to just touch base with this Illinois game one more time tomorrow. I haven't even seen if they've dropped a line yet. See if they've got one really quick here before we go. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Illinois tomorrow here, Danny?
I think it's going to be a very, very tough game. I mean, we won on a buzzer beater shot in on the road last time. I think Nebraska will have a chance to win this game. I think they can, but I'm nervous about the availability of Mast and Frager. Frager, I think, is going to, from what I've heard, he could have a chance to go Sunday, and then Mast was just dehydration. So
hopefully, I mean, if Mast, the thing about Mast is just being sick. So if he's good to go, like he shouldn't have any lingering effects. And Frager hopefully won't either. I do feel like he's going to play. So hopefully they need him, and it's going to be rocking 2 p.m. So it's so funny. Fox Sports 1, Peacock got all these top 10 matchups because nobody realized Nebraska was going to be this good. So
I know if I have to listen to Nick Stausch calling out a game, I'm like calling the FBI and
it's terrible. Playing. That's why I got the noise of the kids in the background, so I didn't hear the announcing. I heard himself comparing himself to a Price Sanford, which I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, yeah, sounds good. And then he tried to defend himself on Twitter, and it just made him look terrible.
Yeah, it did make him look worse. I'll have to double check on that one, Co. I haven't delved into Illinois quite yet. So
don't they have Pedro Stojakovic's son?
They do, yeah.
That makes you feel old.
They've been trending up really well. The Big Ten's got 4 really good teams. So Illinois is actually, 5th. If you look at the Ken Palm, they're 5th. They've got the number 1 offense in college basketball right now. Nebraska's 11th, and we've got the number 10 defense. So should be a great game. Co has Nebraska 81-72. James has Nebraska by 5. I'm going to say Nebraska wins. I'm going to go 79-74.
I was going to say 79-73. So there you go.
I'm guessing the spread will be like, I don't know if it depends on what the health is, but Illinois might be favored in this game, depending on, if they don't know about Mast. And, but man, that 10.5 point spread, I'm really mad at myself at the Michigan game. I told my wife, I was like, there's no way Michigan's win this game by 10.5 points. There's just no way. And
what did she say? I'm sure she said, yes, honey, you're right.
No, she's like, yeah, you should go bet on it. I should have went
Oh,
but in Montana, like you have this bet, we have this bet app, and I
oh,
put money on it a while ago, and so I've been meaning to like bet on it, but you have to actually go to the physical location to do it. And I wish I would have done it because I knew I wasn't sure Nebraska was going to win, but I knew there was no way they were going to lose by 10 and by
yeah,
11 points. So
yeah.
anyway,
I don't see your
better's
plan.
remorse.
I was gonna say I don't see your plants. Or are they behind you?
They now they're still around, so
He says with great excitement.
so all right, you guys. Well, on that note, thanks everybody for hanging out with us for another episode of Coffee with Husker Big Red. If you're watching on the replay, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.